everybody, welcome to GameGuru live broadcast, the new format. It's been a while, hasn't it, guys and gals? We used to do weekly broadcasts, they moved to monthly broadcasts, and it seems my brain has an automatic reformat that runs every 27 days. So I have to keep relearning how to broadcast for these monthly sessions, but that's fine, we'll make it up as we go along together. So hopefully everyone can hear me fine. Sorry for the early stutter. I was monitoring the stats because that's one of the things I was kind of going to guard against because I've been changing my internet connections, etc. It's showing all across the green right now, but earlier on it was in the oranges and yellows. So something to investigate in the months to come. But it looks green at the moment, so we'll proceed on the basis that everyone can hear me, there's no stuttering. And it could simply be the high resolution video that we play before the the broadcast actually starts is a great big hog. And maybe it just needs to be compressed down, or we just reduce the bandwidth. Anyway, technical problems that you needn't heed. The format for these monthly broadcasts, if anyone's joining us for the first time from the old weekly ones, it's an extended Q&A with live demonstrations of GameGuru Max. So a lot more show and a lot less tell. And I'm going to kick things off, generally speaking, what's happened in the last 30 days, a summary if you will. Now those who don't know, you can go onto Discord, there's a special channel, and that's locked to official releases and news only, and you get like a weekly summary, a text, a couple of paragraphs, a couple of sentences, a paragraph of what's going on, just a general summary. Obviously you can dive into GitHub, look in the commits to get all the juicy details, and I'll show you a little bit of that right now. But generally, if you just want a quick summary and then wait for the end of the month, it's the last Wednesday of every month you get these live broadcasts where I not only talk about in summary, but maybe demonstrate one or two things. So I'm going to go straight to a web page. I think I have it here. If you remember last time, or at least if you remember the last stat I posted on Discord, we started with 38 high bugs, that went to 27, and then just over a week ago that went to 10, and now as you can see it's down to 6. Now that's not, we've only got 6 bugs left in GameGuru Max, this is just 6, the last 6 that were marked as high, all them weeks and weeks and weeks ago, and of the 6, all 6 have waiting for more information. Now that simply means I have asked the original author of the post for some additional information, maybe some more steps so it can be reproduced, fixed, and then marked down as fixed and needs confirmation. So that's a pretty decent piece of news in that I don't have any more highs to action today at this very moment in time, and as soon as information comes back on these, that's all of the original highs fixed. That leaves, at last count, it keeps changing, this other statistic, around 280 medium and low bugs. That's not to say that they're not important, it's just they were less important than the highs and the criticals and the crashes, which were tended to first for obvious reasons. So the next process is going to be to take 20 or 30 of the mediums that currently exist and promote them to high. Probably in tranches, in groups, so I can grab say 5 or 6 that all have a common theme. Typically it's all the same bug reported in 5 or 6 different ways, but one fix fixes 6 issues, you get the idea. So I'll be looking for those groupings that I can all promote at the same time to high and get them fixed. As I haven't really made my mind up what those promotions are going to be, I am open to suggestions. If there's something that's stopping you, genuinely stopping you moving forward with your game making project, I'm okay to listen to suggestions on what can be moved from medium to high. So don't be afraid to email me at lee@thegamecreators.com and make your plea. I have already put it out to, I know 1 or 2 who are all making a game, and I said, look, if there's anything in the medium that's going to help you with your project, just drop me an email. And that goes for everyone joining us live. If you're watching this on YouTube as a recording from a year ago, we've moved on. All these bugs, they were fixed long ago. There's new bugs probably if you're watching this recording a year from now. So that's the highs, or what's left of them. But I'll just drill down and show you the change logs since we did our last broadcast. So the June 28th, that was the last one. That was hitting on the Wednesday actually. So the June 10, the 16, the 18, the 21, 22, 24 and 26, all of those have been done since, and I won't read through them line by line. That, again, quite a boring broadcast if I do that, but I'm going to cherry pick certain things out of here and demonstrate them in the software, and once I've done that we'll move to Q&A and we'll get into the really good part of the broadcast, which is having a conversation and maybe demonstrating some things if you want some advice on how to make the software do a certain thing. So I've got GameGuru Max already loaded up. I have a rough idea. When I move from weekly to monthly, I threw away the script. So this is basically improvisation, I think the word is. So forgive me if I go off a little bit on a tangent. The first thing I want to show you that didn't exist 30 days ago is this. It was something that was getting people into trouble in that you could mess up your stock main screens in your storyboard, but there was absolutely zero way to restore them. You know, you'd have to kind of start your project again just to reverse the damage you've done on one of the screens. So now there's a new option in the drop down for stock screens called Restore Screen, and it basically erases all of the things that you did, puts back the stock screen so you can start again. Super useful. One user in particular inspired this suggestion. Wasn't a huge amount of work, but also useful. So we're still in testing on this. You'll get this in the public version not too far from now, but if you want it, go into the EXP build, you'll find it right away, along with other things I'm going to show you. So that is the Restore Screen, which is pretty cool. I also want to show you this that you'll find in EXP build, soon to be in the public one. It's not super complete yet. I want to add some more details, like how many files are in the latest date of those files, you know, whether they're up to date. But what these are all the workshop items that you have subscribed to in GameGuru Max, and it lists them all out with this button, Update Workshop Items. Right now in the EXP, and the testers have reported that you have to go into Steam and do Verify Files. Well, this is the same as that, only you just got to go in here and click this button. Theoretically, it should always automatically update to the latest version of all your subscribed workshop items. But it's not always happening. Whether that's code that's going wrong at our end, or whether it's Steam, or somewhere in between. But this basically forces that issue, and all of the workshop items are updated. So, what are workshop items, I hear you say? Well, it was talked about last month, and I think maybe the month before that, so you can certainly go back in time and get a bit more information. But generally, we're starting the process of moving some of what we would call out-of-the-box stock media into the hands of community contributors who want to be a little bit more lively and get updates out quicker than waiting for the official public releases. So that's the current main use of the workshop item system. But as you can imagine, down the road, it will also be used for more contributors contributing all manner of things, different kinds of media. I'll sneakily show you this, which is what we're using right now. And you can see you could share audio, objects, images, particles, scripts. The root, that's probably going to be locked off as an admin thing, because you can actually overwrite and replace out-of-the-box key files. Useful for some things like updating the guides folder, but generally most contributors will be sticking to sharing different kinds of media. And this is where you get to see both the automated subscriptions, that's the one that Max will automatically subscribe to because it needs things like give me the latest behaviors, for example, and then it also lists out the optional ones that you've subscribed to via the Steam client. So that's the workshop tab, and a little bit more testing on that, but that's going to be part of your public update in the not too distant future. So let me show you the 3 levels I created in order to test certain additions. Before I do that, I just want to call your attention to this. This was a little scenario that was posted as a bug and has since been fixed. Notice this title screen, there's a little button in the bottom right. Dan actually created this new thing that the button's called Jump To, so you can see it created a new node, and I linked that node to another screen, and that screen had 2 buttons which in turn linked to levels 2 and 3. The reason I highlight this, it's a really cool, but let's say you've got a project with 10 levels and you don't want to keep having to play through levels 1 through 9 to actually get to test level 10, but you still want to test it as a standalone. Just drop this little hidden button, and then you can actually jump straight to the level you want to test, and then when you're finished you can just get rid of the button and it gets rid of the node, and you no longer have access this shortcut to these other levels. And it's a nice little idea, and now the storyboard completely allows that to happen. But what do I want to show you? Well, it's a little thing. They're all little things, but I imagine they do add up. Remember before, when you was on melee combat, you wouldn't see the hotkeys panel at the top populated. Now it does. We've got a little yellow rabbit that I've set emissive to bright yellow. If I pick up the gun, oh, I've just walked into a zone and I've just spawned 100 clones of the rabbit. One of the bugs was that clones don't inherit the material properties of the parent. As you can see, they certainly do now. And also, when you pick up a gun, it correctly puts it in the correct slot in the hotkeys panel. There you go. And you can see the map in the top right. All the red dots are rabbits, and they're off. And then you go into there, and then you go into level 2, and this was some other tests. Also, there's 2 new Lua commands called set light Euler and get light Euler. So instead of providing a light direction vector, you can now provide an XYZ Euler angle, which I think is a much more friendly for controlling the angle of a light spotlight in your game. So that's one thing, a number of fixes all rolled up into that level. Another one is to do with barrels exploding through walls, which really shouldn't happen. So I set up a little level here where you've got barrels, they all explode, you've got a big wall, and you've got some boxes on this side and boxes on that side. So when you blow up this barrel, these boxes should move, but these stay put, and vice versa. And also I've put them in a ring because there's a chain reaction of explosions that goes all the way around. This kind of didn't entirely work before, but now it does. So watch the boxes on the left as I shoot on the right. So I've been tossed around a little bit, and now you can see what happened. Those boxes stayed put until the explosion came around on this side and started moving them about. Oh, there's another little test that someone's trying to create like a flooded cellar thing. So you've got a zone which lowers the water, another zone which raises the water, and you can lower the water again. It was reported that it didn't work, and I tried to get it to not work, but it's working for me. So remember that the issues I was talking about before, it's like, can you give me a little bit more information to provoke this bug, because I can't fix it if I can't reproduce it. And the last thing I'd like to show you is an improvement to Nav Mesh. When I run this, it's all going to happen quite quickly, so I'm going to describe what you're looking at beforehand. You've got a zombie over here, you've got a player hiding in this little kind of closed off area with little gaps, so the zombie's going to come all the way around here to attack me from the side. This little box here, I've set it as a door which can open and close. Now in the past, when you opened and closed doors, it would affect the actual polygons of the nav mesh. It would try and hide and show polygons and then recalculate a path. Problem is, the calculation of the polygons in the nav mesh, the polygons could be any size. They could be little ones, big ones, long ones. And sometimes it would switch off a polygon so large, all the characters currently standing on that nav mesh polygon would freeze. And it was a really horrible system, and it wasn't predictable. Now it's done in a slightly different way. It doesn't mess with the nav mesh polygons. What it does, it detects whether the path that's being calculated goes through one of what would be called the door blockers. When a door is closed, there's a blocker representing the area of that door. If a path goes through that area, the cost jumps right up, and so the enemy is forced to calculate a cheaper, less costly path, which is a longer way round, but it would be through a door. So let me show you what that looks like. I'll start off by showing you the nav mesh, like so. You can see the polygons I was talking about is that yellow thing on the floor. Look at the path that the zombie's taking all the way around there. If I open this door / crate, watch what happens. The door is now open, the block is removed, and the zombie gets closer. If I close it again, and you notice the polygons are not changing, hiding, or anything. Don't touch the nav. I mean, you can still switch them off. There's a low command for let you do that, but now it's actually going to just increase the cost of that path, and so you can actually send them off in different directions. And eventually, we might have it so you can actually assign a cost into that blocker area, so you can actually have very complicated and sophisticated decisions about what path the enemy should likely take. And of course, I just made that box a door, but really it was this door. But when that door was there, I couldn't see what the zombie was doing, so I just turned a box into a door just to test the nav mesh. So a much better nav mesh blocker system. I don't think it's perfect yet. It's okay. And so I'm looking forward to seeing how people are finding this new implementation with your existing levels. There's lots and lots more, and if you want to know what those lots and lots are, go and have a look at this and see if you can reproduce some of these things. They're all attached to here. You can click this to look at the code, so you know the extent of these comments as to what was actually changed if you're a C++ aficionado. But yeah, there's probably not many people who want to do that. Suffice it to say, lots of bugs fixed, really enjoying the bug fixing part of the process. 280 as of now, so looking forward to reporting in 30 days or so a much reduced number. Typically, mediums and lows are easier to fix than highs, typically. So hopefully we can really get that number down for the next live broadcast. So with that said, enough rambling and showcasing from me. Let's move on and enter the Q and the A. Okay, I've still got a little bit of work to do in order to get the broadcasting software to automatically select the chat, and I'm going to fiddle, so bear with me just for 5 seconds. Live chat window, properties, select. This will actually become so smooth I won't even be narrating it, but for now, and you're wondering what the smeg is going on, I am looking for the live chat window so I can touch it in. I think it might be that one. Yeah. So for future reference, it's one right at the top called YouTube, which kind of makes sense, doesn't it? Okay, so let's see if we can get that window bigger so we get to use all of our real estate. Oh, and you know, this is a community effort, so if anyone knows how to automatically have OBS detect this chat window that I open before every broadcast, that would be awesome. Just lost all my windows there, but you can see it, which is the main thing. Okay, let's go back to software. You could see now GameGuru Lab Broadcast at the top, my little demo window, and a chat window on the right. But as my window that I'm seeing is the preview and it's squished, I'm going to go to that one. You should still be able to see it, and I see the bigger one. Brilliant. So we're going to scroll to the top. We're going to find the first official question, and we're going to go down chronologically and answer any questions or do little demos, and we'll fill out this Q&A. I just noticed the broadcast speed drop from green to red to yellow to orange to all over the place, but it does still say 14% frame drop, so it's not too bad. But do let me know if this was an unbearable experience, and what I will do is drop there's a sort of a bandwidth that you specify, and it's quite a big number, and I can reduce that. It means when it screen scrapes, it tries to send less data per frame, and you should get your speed back. So let me know how it's going for you up to this point. It's gone back to green now, so who knows, it could entirely be an internet problem that I have, rather than something I shouldn't really be doing in the first place. So we're 22 minutes in. We have a good half an hour for Q&A if there's that many questions. When I get to the last question, I'm going to hang up. So keep your questions coming, and we'll try and get it under the hour. So the first question, Mark, and let's be fair, go straight to the top. Oh, so sweet broadcast incoming. I like that. Okay, question mark the first. No, it doesn't have a question mark, but it does look like a question, so I'm going to start here. This is from Mark. How safe is it to install GameGuru files to GameGuru Max? If you use the Steam client, you just click the install button and it will install all of the GameGuru Max files you could possibly need. If you mean how safe is it to randomly copy files into the GameGuru Max root folder, extremely dangerous. All them files are important, they're all of the right type and size, and they should be where they be. Changing them willy-nilly will almost certainly crash the software, so I highly recommend against it. On a lesser note, if you just mean copying GameGuru Classic files into things like the GameGuru Max entity folder, that's also fine. That's something that we encourage you to try and see how much compatibility you get as you move from your Classic projects toward your Max projects, if you're taking the plunge and moving to Max. Okay, first actual question mark is, and I don't want to be silly in this one, so it's right. Yeah, it's from Raphael. And underneath, is the Steam choppy for anyone else? Choppy, yes. So yeah, we'll see if that. I think that was an early question. Hopefully, improved when we got out of the loading screen. And a question probably when the stream actually started. I hear you. So that's probably when it actually started. Question marks, question marks. What did I miss so far? Nothing, I think. I think this was still very much at the start of the broadcast. Looks like we have a real question from Old Gamer. I produce game soundtracks. Is it possible to add soundtracks to the workshop, or is it possible to get them into the main store? Yeah, ultimately, that is exactly the purpose of the workshop. If you've got stuff to contribute to, the workshop will basically be to give away what you've made. It's like a forum in which you can share media that's already compatible with GameGuru Max. So that's basically the vehicle we'll use, because Workshop lets you do that. There's no commerce for the first implementation. You simply create a Workshop item, upload it, and then everyone else can discover, subscribe to that, and the media is automatically downloaded when they refresh, rerun GameGuru Max. We haven't quite figured out how that will be moderated, so we're taking it very slow and carefully and only using trusted contributors. But I don't think it'll be very difficult to get the trusted status. You just have to show that the quality is there. It's definitely your art. There's nothing suspicious about it, and then we grant that trusted status, and then you can start uploading Workshop items. But we're still in that testing phase, so for the moment, please hold breath whilst we just get it sorted out, make sure it's good and it works, and then we'll start looking for contributors if you're still interested in giving away your content. If you're not interested in giving away your content, there is a store. I can probably visit it now. Called the... where shall I go? Yeah, I'll go in here. Yeah, just go to add and then get more objects. And then there's a marketplace which lets you go to investigate some DLCs, which are the official DLCs for GameGuru Max. But this one, Game Creator Store, just click this. You'll find that there's a whole page on how to become a seller. You can put your media there, and from there you can actually sell your assets. And then we've already built in a system where once you've got your media up there and someone's bought your media, you can actually download that media, once you've bought it, straight into GameGuru Max. You don't have to mess about with download files. So it's all integrated. So that's where you go if you want to sell, or hold on for a bit longer if you want to give away your stuff via the Steam Workshop. So yeah. That's kind of the purpose of the Q&A. I get to point at things rather than just talk about it. So hopefully that was a succinct answer. Another question. Looking for question marks, really. I think I found one. This is from Tenebrae Gaming Development. Can we get a back button on the hub screen? I can never figure out how to get out of it. The hub screen. The hub screen is the starting point. There is no back. The only back is to exit the software. So what I mean by all that is if I just come out of the level editing, come out of my storyboard, I'm now in the hub, there's nowhere to go back from here because this is where we came in. So I suppose going back is to click this X here, which closes down the software. Then the next time you click launch on Steam, the first place you'll come is here in the hub. So there isn't really a back button from the hub. And because that's such an obvious thing to say, I'm pretty sure I've just misunderstood the question. So I think you do have time to clarify and maybe throw a follow-up question to that. And a question, I think that was a question for somebody else in reference to DMing, direct messaging. So hopefully that's one I can skip past without offence. And I've totally lost my place. I'm just going to have to hold down the mouse pointer. Okay, get back to where I was. Just got my answer. Got that one, that's where it was. Can you DM me on Discord, please? Here's a question. Here's 7 question marks. What is the import batch for? Ooh, someone's been... See how it just moved? I had it, my finger held down, and it's still scrolling the chat window. Grr. Okay, the import batch. Well found. I actually wasn't going to demonstrate this because it's literally just been dropped in for a single purpose. Because someone had like 600 objects to convert from FBX to objects for GameGuru Max. I thought, okay, that's a serious case there, so let's add it. But now you've brought it up, and I have said I'm demonstrating, so let's demonstrate that. I'll show you how to use it. As you know, if you've got an FBX or a GLTF or an OBJ, you can import them into GameGuru Max, and it prepares the object, model, textures, and gets them all ready for to be added to your level. No strings. So import 3D model lets you specify a file. So I'm just going to pick any old thing, maybe from the Aztec collection. Let's pick a rock. There you go. And this is what was referenced in the question. This wasn't here yesterday, or rather this wasn't here in the last update, called import batch. Now anyone who's used to packages will know what batch processing is. Instead of doing just one file, you can specify a folder, and the batch process will just go through that entire folder, find any matching file, and perform an operation on it. In this case, the operation is importing and converting each of those model files into a GameGuru Max object file, complete with the correct texture names, the DBO, the FPE, all the rest of it. I'm not going to go through that process because the person who sent me the files probably doesn't want me showing off the art before it's absolutely ready. But what I can show you is how it works. So you go to export, and I click OK, and it does this. It counts all the files, shows you what they are. Obviously I've got 2 different kinds here, FBX and DBO. A pure folder would just have the FBXs, so I think there's something like 51 models to convert, and then you click this button, and then it basically chunks through and loads every single FBX, offers up the preview window, so you can do one final adjustment on the thumbnail, and then click add to library, and then you go on to the next one, and the next one, and the next one. And what you can also do is you can set your scale up in advance. So once you've set your scale up and you've set your collision up, it will use these settings for all of the objects that it processes through to the end. Call it the ultimate time saver for people who've got suddenly 600 models that they want to get into GameGuru Max, or ultimately working on a DLC. So it's a very long answer, very super useful for certain kinds of user. It's not really for everyone. It's more for your artist and your technical artist, or someone who's already got a lot of libraries of art and want to convert them to GameGuru Max. So it sits here. If everyone feels this shouldn't belong in the sort of the standard user mode, and it should be in the settings as an advanced or a developer setting, which, you know, it's fair to say that that could be where we hide it, then we can put it there and get rid of it from here. And that's the reason for the advanced and the developer modes. A brand new user doesn't want to come into the UI and get scared away by too many buttons, too many drop downs, too many things to think about and see all at once. Got to be a nice intuitive experience, and then start learning new features as they are required. So it could be a case that we had this behind advanced and developer. But that is what the import batch is. Super useful if you have 600 models to convert. Okay, it looks like it's staying put, which is great. All I need to do now is find my thread. Where was I? La 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 la. I think I was here. Okay, so the next one is straight underneath from Scott Castle. I'm still getting the black screen when I load up the engine. I can't see the terrain in the editor. Has there been any fixes for this? I assume then you can see the editor if you can contrast between a no terrain and an editor. So I think the best thing is to send a screenshot or create an issue on the GitHub issues board. Screenshot is great. A small video from when you click the launch button is even better. In the EXP build, because it's a good idea to jump to the EXP build if you're not already on it, especially if you're encountering these issues. We have extended the AMD fix to pretty much cover any RX RTX card. And if you are on the AMD and one of those cards that is a little dodgy with the current version of DX11 that we're using, that fix could actually solve the problem for you, because it is about black screens and how it kind of fixes that, and so you can actually see everything. But if you're only getting black screens in certain areas but not others, it may not be that fix. But if you haven't already done so, check out the EXP build. It may, in the latest version, fix it for you. Okay, next question is right underneath. It's from iFly. Is there a way to adjust weapon visuals such as roughness and reflection? Weapon visuals such as roughness and reflection. I don't see anything in the FPE or the gun spec. It would be nice if we could have an import option for making weapons. Yeah, the classic weapon maker feature. I also kind of am interested in doing some kind of weapon creator thing at some point. But coming back to your original question, the only real way is to affect the textures. So obviously you've got a full PBR texture set, and so roughness and reflection is, certainly roughness is controlled through your texture, so just change your texture and you can alter the roughness because the weapon is rendered using the PBR set. Reflection, maybe yes too, in the underscore surface, which has a component, a metal channel, that will control the reflection. It could be that the gun spec is missing certain things where you can control the strength of that reflection and some other settings that you may otherwise have got when you're changing the custom materials of objects, in which case that would be an omission, borderline bug. And if that is the case and you have found that and you are working on your weapons, give us a shout, because I am actually actively working on improving the weapon system as we speak. And so if there's something that's missing, it needs to go in so you can complete weapons that you're creating, do let me know, because that is a priority in addition to fixing the bugs. Because I think it technically is a bug if you can't do everything that you want with the weapons that you are creating. As to the out of the box, give me a model and I'll instantly turn it into a weapon, it ain't really that easy. It's the same as saying just get me something that looks like a character and I'll instantly have him running around shooting and talking and doing all kinds of cool and crazy logic. There's a lot of moving parts to characters and there's a lot of moving parts to weapons. Melee weapons are easier, but I suspect we're talking about projectile weapons, so there's still a way to go there. One day we'll have a very thorough guide and lots of templates, but right now it's almost like if you need to know, just ask. You know, we're going to help everyone get the weapon packs, the weapon models out the door, and then once we've got enough sort of experience on what people are wanting, then yes, we can finish a guide, we can get more templates out, that kind of thing. So for now, yeah, just drop me an email and we'll get that information to you, or we'll add or make fixes as required so the engine can support what it is you're trying. Question is underneath that one. Wow, we're getting a succession of questions now. This is from JBirdMax. I'm having some troubles with triggers working. Is it bad to have a lot of trigger zones in GameGuru Max? No, not at all. You can have thousands of them. There are some limitations like the visual logic system where you can connect one thing to another thing. You can only connect to 10 things, so any one object can only have 10 connections. You can have more if you go into Lua script and do lots of crazy cool stuff. You can connect as many relationships as you want, but the visual logic system, it has 10 lines, and once you've linked to 10 things, that's it. But I suspect what you're talking about is just dropping lots and lots of zones in and they should all work. If they don't work, it's definitely a bug. There shouldn't be any limits to the number of zones you get to drop in. If you can find a way to reproduce it quickly with a very short single level, just create an issue, drop the level that demonstrates it in that issue, and then drop me an email with that link, because it sounds like what you've encountered is a bug. There shouldn't be any problems dropping lots of trigger zones into your level. That's kind of what they're there for. Okay, a question mark from Blood Moon Interactive. Are project files considered a pending feature after bug fixes, or is it current bug pending fix? The only two inbox emails I can't get rid of are related to project files. So yeah, they are on the top of my mind, but I also understand that bugs are important. The moment I start to feel all of them 280 medium bugs can give way to a little time working on the project system, then we work on the project system. I know it's kind of stopping a lot of people going large on their game projects, but I have to consider the needs of the majority, and if there are genuine bugs properly stopping people from even starting, let alone starting a large game project, then those still are top priority. But yeah, the more I keep looking at the project system, the more I'm thinking about the project system. And every time someone talks about the project system on Discord and other social channels, it refines my thought process of what it should be, what it should look like. We already have a pretty decent PDF document that anyone who has an interest in the project system has signed off on. If you have an interest in the project system and you haven't signed off on it, email me at lee@thegamecreators.com. I'll send you the PDF and you can have a read through it. But that's basically the draft and blueprint of what we're going to implement and what we're going to replace the current project system with, which nobody likes. So yeah, it's definitely on my mind. All I'm doing is waiting for the permission from all the bugs. It's not a huge amount of implementation as well. As many people have said, we already kind of have the project system. It just needs to be curtailed and tweaked to get it to exactly where we want. But for those who don't really know what I'm talking about and what's the whole fuss, it really is the difference between a project that just references media and just keeps like a master copy of all the objects and sounds and things and just references them, to a system where the project folder contains everything. So it creates copies of all the objects that your project uses. The benefit then is you could just zip up that project folder and transport it around. You don't have your objects and sounds and files everywhere scattered. They're all inside your project folder, which a lot of other software does. And the reason it wasn't initially chosen is it's going to eat up more disk space as you have duplications of objects and media. But it seems that's not a large concern for people on large game projects. Management of media and organization trumps hard disk space, which I think is fair enough. So that's what we're talking about when we talk about a new project system. So bear with me on that. Once enough bugs have been squished, you'll suddenly find yourself with a shiny new project system. Okay, next question is getting to the bottom of my current live chat window, which is, will we be able to detect limb hits for a character with a Maximu rig? As you know, if you look at the lower commands, there actually is get limb hit? And that actually tells you the name of the limb that was shot. So you shoot a character in the leg, and the mesh of that leg connects to a rig, and the rig has bones, and that bone influences those mesh vertices, and when you hit the leg, it will detect it's hit. It kind of vibrates the mesh, tells the bone of that rig it was hit, and it returns the name of that bone. So the answer to the question is, if your Mixamo rig has lots of bones to make up its rig, it will actually return the name of that bone. It doesn't have to be the character creator rig. It could just be lots of bones, and you shoot it, and it should tell you the limb you've hit. But you do have to separate out all of your well, you know, back in the day there was lots of different ways of actually having characters that animate and move. Generally these days they're all vertex weighted bones attached to rigs, and so yeah, bottom line is just get your Mixamo rig in, shoot it, get a bit of script which tells you what get limb hit returns, and you should find you can detect which limb was shot during the game, and then you can go from there and do any logic that you want based on it. because I assume you're not using the character creator and our rig. You're kind of going to create your own logic around that, but you will need to learn. I think learn to script. You're going to need to do some scripting if you want to use the get lim hit command. Okay. Every time I move this scroll bar, I don't know. It seems like I just lose my place. I haven't, but it just feels like it. Okay, so we're up to here, aren't we? Yes, we are, Lee. What is the link to the Discord? If someone would like to post the link to the Discord, that would be awesome. Thank you. Because I don't want to lose my place. Okay, the next question. This is from Maverick1981. Will emissive maps be fixed for player weapons? They show on the collectibles, but not in the player HUD. Can particles be added to player melee weapons? Two questions. The first question's answer is yeah, there should be no reason why we can't allow emissive maps on weapons. It is part of the PBR system. I suspect the only reason it ain't there is we didn't have any emissive maps on the stock weapons that we used for Max. But anyone sends me a weapon with an emissive map, then I can test it immediately, see that it's not working, tie it in, make sure it's part of the system, put it out as a new AXP update, and then you're away. So yeah, again, just email me and make sure that we include emissive. As to the second part of the question, can particles be added to the player melee weapons? So I imagine a big iron mace and you club it down, and as soon as it hits, it does a puff of particles. And yeah, I'm looking at that as well. It's actually a bug report, two big reports, and the old decal system is just not sufficient anymore for what we want, and the fix to it isn't to try and fix the old decal system, it's to entirely replace them with the particle emitter, so using real volumetric particles instead of the old flat decals, which really don't work in VR. To extend that, once it's working for blood effects and muzzle flash and muzzle smoke flash from characters, then it's a very small step to including volumetric particles for the guns and the melee and the projectile guns of the player. So it's once it's in, it just keeps eroding all the old decal techniques as we replace it with the particle volumes, and then we just drop the particle system. Not to say it won't work, you can still access all the old commands, it's just the out-of-the-box experience would all be using volumetric particles and not using any of the decals. So it's really just a question of waiting on that one. And as they are tied to actual bug reports, they're going to get in before pure feature requests. So a bit of good news there. Question from PV86. Is it possible to change the resolution of GameGuru Max? No, it entirely uses the desktop's resolution. So you can change the resolution, you just have to change your desktop resolution. Back in the day, you could do something called full screen mode, where when you're on your standalone and you go into graphics, you can change the resolution there and then it would flick into full screen, whatever that resolution is. GameGuru Max doesn't do that at present. There have been calls for improving the graphics settings in general, so you can control more of the performance affecting settings, like how much shadow you want, how much light you want, how much depth of field and all that kind of cool stuff. And as part of that is the idea that, oh, I want to make a smaller resolution so my game runs faster. So it's all part of that, but that's not super high priority right now because it is mixed in with a lot of feature request stuff. But when we get to it, yes, you will be able to change the resolution in the graphics settings menu of your standalone, and if you make it smaller, then you get that extra speed boost. It has less pixels to render to the screen. Okay, question the next. This looks like a follow-up from 10 Bray Gaming Development. What I mean is that if I'm in the game editor, storyboard, and click into the hub screen, I have to exit in order to get back to where I was. Okay, let's follow that logic. So I'm in the storyboard, so let's go there first. So I'm in the storyboard. Right, good. And click into the hub screen. Well, the hub screen is back, so I presume clicking into is basically clicking out of this screen, which is this. So that's how you get to the hub screen. So there you go. So let's follow on with the logic. I have to exit in order to get back to where I was. exit from here, well, no, you exit from here, you leave the software. You can go back in to your storyboard. This is your game editor, storyboard. Then you come out into the hub. And then from the hub, you go back in to the project. So yeah, maybe when you mean hub, you're actually talking about something else, because you're not going into a hub, you're going out like that. So that's how hub works. So maybe another follow-up clarifying question, or maybe someone else can see what the actual question is and can paraphrase for me. And in the meantime, a question from Maverick 1981. Has the bug that stops us creating a working health status bar been fixed, and when will it be updated? It's out. It's out. That was requested by Necrim, and I realised he's right. Can't do that, can you? Okay, so I'll show you how to do it now. It was a silly omission, but yeah, it was one that it was forgivable. So I've created this just as a demonstration, and I'll create it from scratch so I can show you what I'm doing. So how do I create a bar, instead of numbers for health, a bar of health? So you're going to need the status bar, user defined global. So click that. So you got your bar, and you can change the size and all that kind of stuff. But this is what you're looking to populate it with. The first one, type out health remaining. And on the second one, can you guess what you're going to type out? That's right, it's maximum health. There you go. And the reason I know exactly what to type out is if you look on the left, these are the user defined ones, but underneath you've got health remaining and maximum health. And if you click on here, you'll actually see that's health remaining and maximum health. And the status bar works on two principles. Tell me the maximum value and then the current value. So the current value will be health remaining and maximum health is the max. And then when you put this in your game, I can't tell you whether this will work because I don't know if I'm going to get shot. So I'm in here, no one's really going to shoot me, so I'm going to create some dangerous health-sucking zombie, let's say. Here you go. And then make sure I'm not invincible. It's often the case. So I'm invincible and I've got 500 health, so let's see if all this works. Hello zombie. So I've currently got 500 health, although that health bar doesn't look particularly full, doesn't it? Right, let's have another look at the name. Yes, I do actually. Go back into the hub. Dink. So health remaining. Let's type that out again. And then maximum health is that, which is correct. Status bar, it looks correct there. So we're good to go. So if I try that again. As you can see, that is the official proper way of doing it. If it doesn't work, it's another bug, so it must have crept back in. But let's have a look. There you go. So you can see, as I lose health, the health bar drops until I get to an empty health bar, and then I'm doomed. There you go. And voila. So that's how you get your health bar working. It's currently in the EXP build, the latest one. It will eventually be in the public update, so keep an eye out for that if you don't want to brave the dangers of an EXP build. But yeah, great question with a satisfactory answer. Okay, let's see if we can find another question underneath that. Oh, I've got a bit more text underneath. Let's go to the bottom. There's a lot more text. Let's take it. We're 51 minutes in. So we may actually not get to all the questions today, but I'm glad we had a good Q&A run. A lot of question marks there. Okay, yeah, that is from Maverick, so hopefully that answers satisfactorily. Thank you for the help. Blah, blah, blah. Here we go. This is from Raphael. Will we be able, or can we, to remap controls of your game? No, I don't think so. Not yet. It will exist in your storyboard. I say will. It's probably one of the first feature requests to go in, and you'll probably end up finding it in Edit, Game Settings. We have thumbnails, descriptions, icons, developer, other bits and bobs, and it'll be in here somewhere where you can configure the keys, your default keys for the game. So it doesn't exist right now. It was on the original design, but it was one of the things that got dropped for version 1. So when we start looking at pure out-and-out feature requests, the key configurator, not just keys, but your mouse and game controllers and VR controllers can be remapped to something that more reflects the game that you want to create. And it will also be duplicated here as well, so there'll be an extra option to configure your keys in your standalone game as well if your end users want to change the keys further. So it's all be done at the same time, so it's effectively you're not redoing the code. It's all the same code, just two different UIs, one from your perspective in the storyboard and one from the standalone's perspective for your end users. So technically a feature request, but it's going to be one that happens sooner rather than later. Okay, question from question mark here. This is from Lucas. What should I do if some of my particle emissions flatten? Spheres get weird. Particle emissions flatten, spheres get weird. I think there was a bug in the particle system where you did have some strangeness in terms of how the volumes of those particles would happen. And I do remember one time where the spheres were flattening. But if you think it's a bug, it probably is a bug. If there's some particle that's supposed to be doing a certain thing and it isn't, it sounds like a particle bug to me. But because we have hundreds of particles, the issue reported should actually say what the particle name is, where you got it, put it in the level, what should it look like, and what does it look like. Get all that together, then we can confirm whether it is a bug or not, and if it is, we can get it fixed relatively quickly. But yeah, it's a very broad subject as to what you think a particle should look like and what it currently looks like right now. Question underneath, Skippy 1, Tembre, let's go for attempt number 3. Can we make a more detailed guide on how to import custom characters? I successfully imported a character that uses a full Blender model, but it freezes when I get hit. Yeah, if you're bringing it in from Blender, it's probably... it could be anything. It may not be exactly lining up to how the standard GameGuru Max character rig works. If it's off even by a little bit, it'll do strange things like you hit it and then it not doing anything, or it doing something and then not doing it anymore. There is a guide and there is an up-to-date template which you can export from Blender. It sounds like if you've not read that guide needs a bit more explanation, and the best way to improve that guide is if you can email me with some specific questions as to where things went wrong, and then we can add that information to the guide, so the next attempt where you export a character from Blender, it does more of the correct things. When I say that, a correctly exported character from the Blender should allow you to create character created body parts, create a character from there, drop the character in, assign it to melee attack or character attack, and it should fully work. All the game logic should work, the animations, etc., everything. That's the idea, that's the hope. So if we're going off track on that, let me know what we're missing and we'll add it to the guide for you and for everyone. Okay, hopefully I don't skip any. Oh yeah, I think I've got a bit more to scroll, but yeah, it looks like I've got an exclamation mark, whether that's a question as well. It is here. Particles for first person weapons and hands would be great. Enchanted weapons with particles swirling would be cool, or flames on the hand if using a flame spell. Yeah, I never thought of particle volumes which just emanate anyway. I do remember that there was a weapon on Doom or something that was like reeking and had flies buzzing around it or something like that. So yeah, remind me of that. If I'm adding particle volumes to weapons, there's no harm in adding an extra slot for like idle particle, which you can just emit on some set of rules or timers. That actually be quite good fun, and look forward to seeing artists come up with weapons of that ilk as well, especially if it ties in with the existing particle system nicely. Okay, question marks. Looking for question marks, and I don't see any all the way to the except the last one. Alright, Tenebrae Gaming Development goes for one final exasperated stab at this. You can get to the hub screen under the help menu from any screen. I think we're boiling in now. So let's say from any screen. So let's say I'm in the desert. Right. I'm sure you're right. It's just I need to reproduce it. So I'm in the help and I go to GameGuru Max Hub. And I'm now in the hub. and now you want a back button here which takes you back to where you was, which was that desert level. Right now you can't do that. You've got to kind of fish your way through. Or what project was I working on again? Which level was I working on again? Completely understand you now. Thank you very much. See, bit of patience, and I eventually get there in the end. In fact, what I'm going to do is do a little snapshot like that, and I'm going to do that, and I'm going to do that, and I'm going to make a note of it. So thank you very much for your persistence. Okay. And finally, there's a question down here from KC Productions. The Blender character template does not work properly when imported, but once you give a behavior to it, it will have a weird rotation while running towards you. Is that a bug? Any fixes? Yeah, that sounds like there was a previous Blender file that did that, but the very, very, very latest Blender file fixes it so much that it works perfectly, and we've even included a female version of the Blender template file as well. So it should work. I can only assume it's an old Blender file that you've got your hands on, and that explains why you're getting weirdness. The latest one should work a treat. So if it doesn't, and you are using the latest version, could you provide sort of a step-by-step, or even better, a video of, this is the file I started with, this is what I did, da-da-da-da-da, dropped it into here, and look what happens, and it's rubbish. You can show all that in a video, then I can pass it on to my good friend Mark Blosser, who'll say, aha, well, I see what you're doing, and you should do this, and we'll add that to the guide and get more clarity and get you back on the straight and narrow. But I have had reports that it works nice, so there must be some information missing that is key to your success. So let me know, and then I'll do the legwork. Oh my god, I love the health bar. I know, it's the little things in life, isn't it? Right, I'm looking at the clock, we're 59 minutes in. My communication bandwidth colour is going red and orange. I guess the internet wants me to stop, and after this broadcast I'm going to check out the communication settings, see if we can reduce it for next month so you don't get any reds and oranges and stuttering and what have you. But do let me know by email if you have an interest in this and want to tell me whether there was significant stuttering or I don't need to worry about it and get back to bug fixing. Either way, send me an email so I know what's what. So I hope you enjoyed this month's broadcast. We're going to keep the format. I quite like the idea of a little show and tell on the actual things that have been done in that month, but dedicate most of the broadcast to your questions and as much as possible me be able to demonstrate the answer rather than just talking about it. So I hope this was rewarding and useful to you. Thank you very much for everyone who's attended. It will be August. It will be August. The last Wednesday of August will be the next one. So for those who remember, and for those who don't remember, I think we put a gentle reminder out on Discord. It will be 7 PM on the last Wednesday of August. So until then, thanks very much for tuning in and joining me in this 1 hour rant. And I'll speak to you all again next month. So until then, I shall say goodbye.